Welcome to Lavender Recap. In today's video, we'll be going through an Australian post-apocalyptic action and fantasy fiction movie from the year 2015 titled Mad Max Fury Road. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. Max Rokitansky, who was once a cop and a road warrior, is now traveling through post-apocalyptic Australia, fleeing haunting visions of his deceased wife and child, as well as other people he's failed to save, explains in a voiceover. A two-headed lizard crawls approaching Max as he stands on the ridge looking around, and he stomps on it before eating it. He drives away but is swiftly pursued by the War Boys, a ragtag collection of scavengers who are all pallid and blistered from radiation disease. They pursue Max through the desert, forcing him to crash before apprehending him. The War Boys transport Max to their lair in the Citadel, a network of caves carved out of a massive mesa. His head and face are shaved. They tattoo a message on his back stating that he's a universal blood donor with the intention of using him as a blood supply. They nearly brand him with an image of a skull immersed in fire and cover the lower half of his face with a trident-shaped iron snout, but he breaks free and flees the War Boys. The hunt through the caves reveals that the Citadel is large, with plenty of water and greenhouses. Max continues to seek pictures of the dead as he rushes until he reaches an escape high above the ground. He leaps out and grabs a flying hook, but he continues to swim back towards the War Boys, who manage to drag him back into the tunnel. Immortan Joe, the leader of the War Boys, rules over a massive population of survivors in the Citadel. Joe breathes through a hideous face mask made of horse teeth set in a big pair of jaws, with air hoses connected to a bellows system on his back. As he speaks to a gathering on the ground beneath the Citadel, he hands out water, causing everyone to go insane and fight for it until Joe turns it off after a few seconds. He urges people not to become addicted to water in order to avoid going insane in the absence of it. Joe then sends Imperator Furiosa, his leader, out in a massive war rig to fetch fuel from Gas Town, escorted by War Boys in smaller vehicles. Furiosa's lower left arm and hand are replaced with a metal prosthesis. Furiosa deviates from the way to Gas Town and continues to east down the road. Joe notices the difference and dashes to the lock cells where he keeps his 5 wives. They all disappear, and graffiti on the walls read, "Our children will not be warlords," and "Who killed the world?" An elderly woman tells Joe that he cannot own a human being. Joe is enraged because Furiosa is stealing his women, forcing him to organize the War Boys to pursue her. All of the War Boys are anxious to join the chase, but one in particular, Nux, is so frail that he requires a blood bank, which means Mask must accompany Nux and is attached to the driver by a central line transfusion tube. Nux is willing to die in devotion to his lord since the War Boys think Immortan Joe can transport them to the gates of Valhalla. The War Boys pursue Furiosa's war rig, which is being attacked by the Buzzards, another scavenger tribe. Nux attaches Max to the hood of his automobile like a ship's figurehead and joins the others in chasing Furiosa. They tend to approach the rig, but Furiosa fends them off with blast spears, with the War Boys supporting on blast spears. When Max is able to overpower and stop him, he intends to set it ablaze with a flare. In the midst of the storm, the two collide. Max is still tethered to an unconscious Nux and wearing his muzzle when he wakes up. He takes out a shotgun and attempts to shoot Nux's wrist, but the gun malfunctions. He finds 5 gorgeous women, the splendid Angarod, Toast the Knowing, Capable, Cheeto the Fragile, and the Dag, cleaning themselves with a hose and loosening their chastity belts with bolt cutters when he spies Furiosa's rig and walks there. Splendid is 9 months pregnant with Joe's baby, and Dag is also expecting. Max draws his firearm and demands the hose from the woman. He drinks, then urges them to cut his chain with the cutters. Dag attempts but is unable to shatter it. Joe has assembled reinforcements from the other villages that provide the Citadel with patrol as well as ammunition. Furiosa notices in the distance. The People Eater and the Bullet Farmer lead the incoming armies. As he tries to cut the chain that binds him to Nux, Mask and Furiosa battle. Nux awakens and assists Max in his fight against Furiosa, who's aided by the other ladies. Furiosa runs the rig into a canyon, where she makes a deal with a group of motorcycle bandits to close the pass behind her using a rock avalanche to impede her pursuers in trade for 3,000 gallons of fuel that she's been carrying in the trailer pod. She instructs Max on how to circumvent the kill switch by throwing a series of switches, then inquires about his name. "Drive out of here quickly as I yell, 'Fool,'" she says. Joe and his soldiers are closing in on them. Furiosa steps out and announces to the motorcyclists that she has delivered the agreed-upon 3,000 gallons of petrol and will detach to the pod. One of the riders complains that she stated there would be a few chasers, but there are 3 sizable groups. "Fool," as she maneuvers the trailer between herself and the riders. Furiosa yells. As Max drives the rig away, she manages to get back aboard between gunfire. Immortan Joe, in his off-road vehicle with huge wheels, is able to climb over the rockfall. A new chase through the desert ensues, while Joe catches up with the War Boys that continue to try to overtake the rig. Joe tries to shoot at the rig until Splendid appears as a human shield, and he's unable to do anything without endangering his possible son. Splendid attempts to return to the front of the rig, but she falls off and is hit by Joe's automobile. The women beg Max to turn around, but when he informs Furiosa that Splendid has vanished beneath the wheels, Furiosa refuses. Splendid is mourned by the others. Joe, who is holding Splendid's body behind them, cries in an angry manner. Max returns to the rig, promising to assist the women in avoiding Joe. He's heartbroken as he lies on the floor, knowing that he has failed Joe yet again and has lost his chance to join his personal army. He is consoled by Capable. Furiosa tells Max about the green place and how she was torn from it when she was a child. The rig got trapped in a vast field of mud as they continue driving into the night. They're being pursued by the bullet farmer. Max fires a shot at him, but it misses, and Furiosa follows up with a clean shot, knocking out the bullet farmer's lights and blinding him. Meanwhile, Splendid's body is taken by Joe's subordinate, the organic mechanic, who chops the baby out of her abdomen as she's near death. Although the baby is already deceased, he informs Joe that it was a male. Joe reveals that he has a brother to his adult son, Rictus. Rictus triumphantly screams, while the women continue to push the rig out of the mud. Max rushes out to confront the bullet farmer. The rig arrives at a tower in the morning where a nude woman, the Valkyrie, is begging for aid. Max suspects it's a setup, but Furiosa walks forward and tells the Valkyrie her mother's name and her ties to the clan. The Valkyrie descends the tower and dons her robe. The Valvolini, a group of older women, appear. Furiosa is recognized by the eldest, Keeper of the Seeds. Furiosa claims to be transporting the ladies from the Citadel to the Green Place, but Keeper and the Seeds reminds her that the muddy swamp they went through was once the Green Place, but is now unusable. Furiosa steps into the sand and collapses to her knees, wailing in agony. The Valvolini agree to assist the Citadel women in their hunt for a house across the Salt Flats. Because Joe's vegetation and water supply are temporarily unattended, Max, still troubled by thoughts of his wife and child, decides to assist the women in returning to the Citadel. They also intend to use the canyons to trap Joe and his army. The gang returns to the Citadel on horseback. Joe observes them through his telescope, fully aware of their strategy. The Vuvolini assist in the fight back. While defending one of her own, the Valkyrie fires at the War Boys until she's run down. Max and Furiosa murder some of the War Boys, while Max uses Joe as a human shield to kill the People Eater. One of the War Boys slashes Keeper of the Seed's neck, killing her. Joe kidnaps Toast and holds him as a prisoner. As Joe and Rictus gain momentum, Furiosa gets stabbed in Joe's vehicle and becomes weakened. Toast diverts Joe's attention long enough for Furiosa to tie Joe's mask to his car's wheels. "Remember me." As wheels rip Joe's mask and a chunk of his face off, she growls, killing him. Rictus continues to try to stop them as the rig goes toward the canyon. The women are safe, while Nux says his goodbyes to Capable and swerves into the canyon, killing Rictus and collapsing the overpass to put an end to Joe's army. Furiosa's lungs nearly collapse on the way back to the Citadel. Max makes a small hole in her side to allow her to breathe. Max gives her a transfusion of his own blood when she begins to lose consciousness. As she closes her eyes, he eventually gives her his name. The Citadel is reached by the gang. Everyone cheers when Max brings Joe's mouthless corpse to the crowd. They pull Joe's body apart and eat him live. The water supply is brought out, providing as much water as the inhabitants require. Furiosa rises to the top and appears to be the new boss. She and Max exchange a respectful nod once more before he disappears into the crowd to pursue his own route.